the most important thing in podcasting is consistency, right? People, it's like people start to listen to your podcast and they like you, they count on that. And if you disappear on them for an extended period of time, they're going to be gone because there's so many other podcasts out there,
True. Hello, beautiful world. Welcome back to my last episode here in LA. This man doesn't need an introduction. He's Kevin Connolly, and he's the man who told me that LA is a very dark place.
No.
Welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for having me. And is this your last podcast for a while anyway? Your last podcast that you're recording in LA?
Here in LA,
Okay.
yeah. That's why I wanted to know, is it my podcast now or is it your podcast? Because you are the master of all the podcasts here in LA.
Right, but this is your podcast. So
is my podcast.
Yeah, and it'll always be here. So when you come back, it'll be here waiting for you.
Thank you so much. Like, I really have to point this out. You helped me a lot, and I will always remember everything you told me, and also giving me this space here to create myself fully. I've grown a lot.
Oh, really? That's good.
Yeah.
Listen, I think what you're referring to is one of the first times we met in here. We were just chatting, and I said, "Well, how long have you been here?" And you were like, "I don't know, 3 weeks or something." And I was like, "Whoa!" I mean, 3 weeks in LA, that's a short amount of time.
But I made it in your studio.
You did.
Within 3 weeks.
You did.
I mean, this is huge.
Right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trying to say, I actually, a lot of people will say a lot of things about LA, but I've met some of the greatest people in the world in LA. So it's not all, bad LA. I was just sort of putting the red flag up about, the pitfalls of just, going out, and it's just so easy to go into that rabbit hole. Like you going out 3-4 times a week, and then, you blink your eyes and 4 years has passed and you haven't really taken any steps forward to accomplish what you moved halfway across the world to accomplish. So that's,
Yeah.
I know that seems to have landed with you. I didn't want to scare you off of like Los Angeles. I was just saying,
But there was a red flag. Like, Mira, be careful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you've seen me growing and evolving, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
what do you
you're-
think about my whole
I mean,
process?
you're consistent, and the fact that right away within the first few weeks that you were being here, you were sort of kind of being proactive to get after what it is that you are setting out to accomplish. So
Yeah, you remember when I told you every day counts?
every day counts. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
And I've been to these parties, but it's just not who I am.
Right. And you can still go to the parties, and you can still pop around. You just have to keep the balance. And these all sound like cliches, but it's true.
I know, but I'm enjoying this so much more than anything else here in LA.
Right.
This is my happy place here in your studio.
Right.
I didn't know actually who you are, to be honest. I mean, I know Notebook, okay?
Okay.
I know you were in the movie Notebook, but when I came here, I tagged you on my Instagram story, and people reached out to me, and they're like, "Do you know that this is the
From
guy?"
Switzerland?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Do you know that this is the guy from Entourage? I'm like, what is Entourage? And then on my way here, my best friend from New York, he told me, Entourage is like Sex and the City for men. And
I've
never
heard that
watched
before.
it.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, but
No, you
I'm
watch it
gonna
on the
watch
plane.
it.
Watch it on the plane. How long is the flight to Switzerland?
11 hours, I guess.
God, that's a long flight. And you're taking that flight today?
Yes,
Wow.
right after this.
So what
recording.
do you do on the plane? Do you sleep? Do
I
you have a glass
meditate.
of wine?
You know what? No, I stopped drinking.
Oh, you
I
did?
do sober January.
Sober January. All right.
Yeah.
I like it. I
Yeah.
like it.
What about you? You want to jump on this?
I don't do
same-
sober January. We don't do sober January. No, but sober January is a good time to do sober. There's the big thing out here is sober October.
Yeah.
But
I-
I don't know. January seems to make more sense to me.
I thought it's maybe I just brought that up that it's sober January, but I doing it because it was a lot of alcohol.
Oh,
here,
did you booze it up in December?
But you, of course, you have like a party there. You have a glass of wine here, a glass of champagne here, and then it just adds up. And I feel so much better now in my body, not drinking for how many days now? Like 11?
Right. And then on February 1st, you'll be like, all right, let's go.
No, on 2nd, because that's my 30th.
Oh, that's right. 30 days.
You better text me on my 30th.
So you do 30 full days. Wow.
Yes.
And then what's going to happen in Switzerland? So how does life change? Because how long have you been here now?
3 months.
3 months. So how does life change when you go back to Switzerland?
First of all, I want to stay in my apartment for the whole weekend because I missed
Just
my
like
apartment.
hang in the apartment and just
Yes.
like lay in bed and chill,
Yeah.
right?
And then I start my recordings over there because what I've learned here is exactly what we do right now.
Right.
You know, it's totally different than in Switzerland. I think that you guys are definitely on another level than in Switzerland, for sure. And I was one of the first movers back then, like 3 years ago, with my podcast Road to Success by Mira. And now you gave me a lot more inspiration how to bring it up to a new level.
Right. Oh, good. I'm glad we could help. And
Yeah.
you know, you came through Dave, which is how did that go exactly? You met Dave, and Dave was like, "Hey, I work for a
That
podcast
was
company."
actually a party, where I was invited by Cami. And she's like, you should come. I'm like, okay, my intuition is telling me I should definitely go. Are you smoking at the same time?
No, it's an electronic cigarette. It's not a
You
real
do that?
Yeah, sometimes.
And okay, you're the first guy ever smoking on my podcast.
Oh, really? I'm not really smoking. It's a vape.
It's a vape. Okay.
It's different. Very
Okay.
different.
Okay, good to know.
But go ahead. So you go to this party.
Yeah, my intuition told me I have to be there. And then I was talking to a girl. She asked me, what are you doing here? I'm like, I just came here, you know, and I want to do my podcast recordings here. And, you know, it's like the place to be.
Right.
And then she told me you should talk to this guy.
Talk to this guy. There
to
he is.
Dave. And you
Talk to
know
Dave.
what? I'm like, I spotted him. I'm like, okay, the time will come, you know. I'm not
Right. You're
gonna
going to run right up to him. Like your paths will cross at some point during the evening. Right.
But interestingly, I attracted Dave to me.
Dave
Because
does.
he
Dave
came
does.
to me.
He's not shy to approach the ladies. That's for sure.
Exactly. And you know what I really appreciated about him was his energy. It was different than from anyone else at this party. It was real. It was honest.
Yeah, look at him. He's just like honest Abe. It's
He's
like
my
honest Abe
angel.
Lincoln back there.
Yeah, and I did my first episode with him because everyone was canceling on me. Oh, another thing.
Yeah, listen, that you know, we see that happen a lot. And you know, I always try to tell people that are podcasting, obviously guests are great, but if you can figure out a way to do a show without a guest, it's just easier than counting on people and waiting on people, because a lot of times people will disappoint you know.
But Kevin, I have to ask you, here in this city, you are the celebrity. You know, when people cancel on you, how do you react on that?
You know, we've been pretty lucky with people, but our podcast, Victory the Podcast that we talked about, we're always ready to do it without a guest. You know, so if in fact a guest, or there's a problem with the Zoom or whatever it is, or the guest can't make it, we go along as planned. So I think that should be something that you should consider moving forward with your podcast.
But you have a team on the Victory Podcast. It's
right. That's
the
true.
Entourage team.
That's true. But you know, you could get you know, your number two. Right, you're a friend of yours or somebody that you enjoy having a conversation with, and just have them be your number two, somebody to bounce things off of.
Okay,
or
so you always have a backup plan when someone cancels.
Yeah, you should be able to do. You don't want to have to be worried about like, oh my God, if I want to do the podcast this week, but I don't have a guest, because the most important thing in podcasting is consistency. Right, people, it's like if people start to listen to your podcast and they like you, they count on that, and if you disappear on them for an extended period of time, they're going to be gone, because there's so many other podcasts out there,
True. And okay, that happened to me, that I was not recording for a couple of months because I was just not feeling it, And
Right.
when I feel it,
Right.
then the podcast always turns out to be the best.
Right. Yeah. but
Quality before quantity.
Exactly. And you find, well, yes and no, because of course you always want to focus on quality, but consistency is an equal important part, because people are gonna listen to your podcast because they want to hear you.
Yeah.
Of course, do you know who Joe Rogan is?
Yes, of course.
Joe Rogan, doesn't matter who his guest is. His numbers don't change. People tune into his podcast to listen to him, right? So that I think is important, that you keep yourself at the center of it. And you can, and I tell Dave this too, who's doing this podcast, pick a topic that's on your mind, that you want to rant about. And that's the other thing too. Podcast episodes don't always have to be an hour long. You keep it good 40 minutes of like interesting content of what it is. And I think that's a sweet spot, a good number for people.
I understand that, but don't you ever feel like you have a frozen brain and nothing is just coming through? Like,
Right.
Even there are sometimes I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, actually I'm inspired, but there's nothing coming out.
Right. Well, do you know you have an iPhone, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So go into your notes section of your iPhone, and this is what I'll do. Over the course of the week, if I think of something or I see something, I'll jot it down in my notes section of my phone.
Yeah.
And then, usually by the time you record the podcast, there's like 3 or 4 things that you would want to get off your mind, get off your chest and talk about. So that's sort of what I do. Just because I'm like, you know what, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast. This is bothering me, or
Okay.
this is kind of funny. So I that's what I do. I make notes in my phone.
That's good. Actually, I have my best friend. She's reminding me always to talk about certain things.
Right.
Because she knows me the best.
Right. You should talk about this, and boom, into
Yeah.
the notes it goes.
Is there anything you don't like to talk about? Honestly. Be honest.
I think I'm a for the most part a pretty private person. I think I've gotten, since I started getting into the podcasting world, I've more comfortable talking about certain things that normally I wouldn't, but that just comes with, the territory and talking into a microphone a lot.
Did you also discover that the more you open yourself up to the world, that the world opens up to you?
Yeah. What could you expand on that? What do you mean? Like it opens up, like what do you mean when you open up your mind to
No.
different ideas, or?
It's not the mind, it's the heart.
Right.
Right? When you open your heart, the world opens to you. And I figured that out for myself because I'm also a public figure in Switzerland.
Right.
And, the real me on Instagram is just not a name. It's truly who I am.
Right.
Now I'm real. Ever since I changed my name on social media, I became this real person.
Well, you're a brand, right? It's a you, and
But my brand
it's
is so real and authentic.
Right.
And I figured out that if I'm not lying to you, you're not going to lie to me. So I better
Right.
be honest and real, because when I show you that I'm vulnerable, how do you say that?
vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
It's a tough one.
That's
a
the
tough one
only
to
word I
say.
cannot pronounce.
Vulnerable. That's a tough one. Yeah.
Vulnerable. Then you're going to be vulnerable as well.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. If you're vulnerable, if people see your vulnerable side, then they're
Yeah.
more likely to be vulnerable. That's fair.
And that was my secret to my personal success.
Right.
Because I never wanted to put anything in the shadow. I always want to bring light where the darkness is, because then you should know how I made certain steps in life.
Right.
Because then you can relate to me. I'm not different than you.
Right.
We're exactly the same.
Yeah, you do seem to be a very positive person. So is that something that have you always been that way, or did that just kind of?
No, I'm coming from a how to say that? Let's put it in a nice way. A negative family. Everything was always impossible. And I made the word I am possible in that family. But
Right.
I'm happy, they taught me a lot.
Do you get along with your family still?
Yes,
or you
I do.
And are they all in Switzerland?
They're all in
Are
Switzerland.
they excited to see you when you come back?
Oh, definitely. My mom thought I'm coming back like already last week. I'm like, no, Mom, it's the 11th.
So you'll go and you'll chill out for a while, and then what's normal life like in Switzerland? I've never been to Switzerland, so what's that like for you? I mean,
My life is different because I don't have an 8 to 5 job.
right,
I do my coachings in the morning or in the evening.
right.
I have my meetings during the whole day. I have collabs, which I'm very proud of.
What is that?
Collaborations.
Oh, collabs.
Influencer.
Collabs.
Collabs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
collabs.
Sorry, my accent.
No, it's good. It's good.
Okay, I'm gonna do it American now. So I have collabs there,
have your collabs.
and so I'm gonna have a lot of meetings during the day. This is like an American accent, right?
Right.
Yeah. But then, in the evening, I would definitely go to the gym, and then I do another coaching session, and then I go
And
straight to
what
sleep.
coaching session? What do you coach?
Coachings by Mira
Right.
is a positive mindset, as you can see by yourself.
So you have clients that come in. And
I do.
You do.
And I don't put it out there like, this is like a sales strategy. It's just I'm doing it. People come naturally to me because I attract what I am.
Right.
Good people who are into personal development,
Right.
And I have these tools and exercises and programs, and I love to teach them with all my heart.
Right. So you're right. So it's like self-improvement.
Yeah.
Kind of, and people call, and is it just kind of conversations, or do you? I mean,
I do
it,
Zoom calls.
You do Zoom
weekly
calls.
Zoom calls with exercises. Yes. And
Really?
yeah, it's really professional.
Wow.
Yeah.
Exercises. Like, what would be an exercise? What would an exercise be?
Oh wow, exercise. Let's see. Okay, one that I can give you for free before you go to sleep.
Okay.
Try to go through your actions, but vice versa,
Really? Okay.
because you can train your mind to be laser sharp on certain details.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Okay.
This is coaching by Mira for free.
Okay.
But
So
you
when
will
you
see
say
the
go through
effect.
your actions, like your actions over the course of the day?
Yes.
And
Like,
then,
what
but-
was the last thing right before you did this exercise?
Right.
You
And
know?
then go back to when you woke up.
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's
Okay.
very interesting. Yeah. And that's like just a small thing. Another thing is that I really think people should know is your gut feeling. Every time I talk to my guests, I always ask them the same questions, but I just want to listen to their perspective.
Right.
You know, because as a coach, I already have like my program, how I actually created it, but I still want to listen to other people's opinion just to see how they feel about the gut feeling.
Right.
Having you here in the studio now, like, what do you think about your gut feeling? How many times could you rely on your gut feeling?
I think that's one thing that I'm really big on. And when I go against my gut feeling and it turns out that my gut feeling was right, it always bothers me. Usually my gut feeling is right. And that will a lot of times come in the terms of like, I don't know, there's something funny. My gut is telling me that this is not right, or this is, you know, or this person's being disingenuous. Like, so yeah, I rely heavily on my gut and my instincts.
You see, that's why you made such a great career. Looking back,
Right. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. No, it's important. You know, it's like your initial gut instinct more times than not will be right.
yeah, and I think if you don't listen to your gut feeling, that's when the disease comes, right? Because your system, your body system, has to work towards something or against something. You know, towards something, against something is not the same thing.
Right.
Huh?
That's true. That's
yeah,
true.
here we go.
Right.
You see? But I can
Interesting.
give you a session maybe for free. Maybe.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
what else?
So actually, it's so cool to talk with you just about podcasting in general, because a lot of people, they try to start an own podcast and maybe they feel like it's too late to start an own podcast
Right.
because there's so many out there. And I think it's never too late to start something that you really like to do, right?
Yeah, I mean that would be my advice would be first that you have to want to do it, right?
Yeah.
You have to really want to do it, and you have to really enjoy it. You have to have something to say, and then you can't be hung up on the monetization of it right away. Because very rarely do you just start. You know, it takes a little. You know, use Joe Rogan as an example.
Do you know him?
No, I don't. But I mean, he was doing podcasts before it was a podcast, right? He didn't just wake up one day and become the biggest podcaster in the world. He was talking to the wall for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
You know, and then one day it just clicked. So you got to do it for the love of it, or because you're having fun. And it can't be too, brings me back to the point about the guest. It can't be too much of a, God, this is so stressful thing. You know, it just can't, because you'll burn out on it.
But do you only interview successful people and known people, or do you also have like normal people in your
No,
podcast?
I do two podcasts. Victory is just based on Entourage, but we do another podcast called Kevco, which is like my name abbreviated. And that podcast we talk. Yeah, we don't do the celebrity thing. We just try to find interesting people that to talk to. Yeah. So but that's even better. It makes it easier because again, when you're out like, oh, well, we don't have a guest this week. You got to be able to jump in there and just knock out the podcast, you know?
Yeah. Is Mira a Kevco guest or a
You could do
Victory?
it. You could do
Or
it.
Victory, huh?
Yeah, well, Victory's the big one. That would be the one you would want to be on. But you got a little shout out on Victory, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you were here.
Yeah,
Dave
you
took
shout-
care of that.
Yeah, I know. Because maybe I am a celebrity.
Maybe.
Maybe I am.
Maybe.
But why do you call your podcast Victory? It's a
tagline. It was a tagline from the show. It was like a famous line from the show. So
What's the line?
Victory.
It's just Victory.
Yeah. It's Victory.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we came up with that. But yeah, it's stuck. We've done closing in on about 200 episodes, which is a lot.
In how many years?
In a couple of years, we haven't really, it's funny, this last week was the first time in 2 years that we missed a week because, it's the holidays. And,
That's it. So how many years already? Like
it's
2 or 3?
2.5 years, yeah. 2.5
Oh, you're
years
better than
of
I
one a
am.
week,
Yeah, you see, I have 50 episodes within
Right.
2.5 years.
Yeah, you gotta do it consistently, and you gotta figure out a convention or a device to do the episode alone. right? So, but when I say convention or device, meaning like for example, I always tell Dave, Dave is always. Have you been to Air One?
Everyone,
The
yeah,
grocery store.
yeah, yeah.
Dave is always complaining about how expensive Air One is. I think that's hilarious, right? So for me, Dave. I think Dave, you should do a thing on this is what's bothering me this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Air One, traffic, what parking tickets, whatever it is that's on your mind, and then that way you can sit there and talk and. People are listening to you, and it's current, and you're not waiting on whether or not your guest that you're communicating with on Instagram is going to show up.
That's true. But then let's say there's so many influencers out there, right?
Right.
And you're not gonna watch all these stories where they're just talking because you just skip. What if you have a podcast where it's just like nonsense and you're investing your time and there's like nothing? No outcome.
But a perfect example, somebody like you said, you're a coach, right? So we do a podcast that's called The Narc in Me, and it's about narcissism, right? And she will talk about she'll have on guest an expert or whatever it is, and then sometimes she'll talk about the degrees of narcissism. She'll break it down. So for you, who is a self-help, you could do an episode on that exercise, right? So you did a podcast episode about, which I find really interesting, what you were saying about think about your actions and going and doing them backwards from the night. That would be an interesting episode for a podcast, and you wouldn't need anybody there to do that. You could talk about that. So that's the best way to do it, because at the end of the day, in any real success, people are going to be tuning in to listen to you.
That's true, but I think I'm a people person.
Yeah, no, listen, guests are great, but they're just...
it gives me so much energy talking to you now.
Right.
With you, instead of doing this all alone.
Right. It's just a good option to be able to do one. And again, it doesn't have to be an hour. If you're like, hey, we're only going to do 20 minutes, and here's what I'm going to talk about this week. I'm going to talk about, your approach, this thing you were talking about the gut feeling. Like, people are interested in that sort of stuff.
I know. They're waking up now.
Yeah.
A change is coming for sure. Why did you actually start with podcasting, and how?
I started with, do you know what IP is? Intellectual property, right? Which is, a book is an IP, whatever it is. And a magazine article could be an IP. And then from that IP, if you wrote a magazine or an article in whatever, Rolling Stone magazine, you can then take that IP and you could sell it as a TV show or a movie and develop it. So this was a good way to, an economical way to compete in the IP business. So if you and I did a podcast about, the floods in LA, and we did a 6-part podcast on the floods, we could then use that as the basis of a TV show, a movie, or whatever it is. So it's really a way to flush out ideas and develop property.
Okay.
That was my initial idea.
And then you discovered a talent for talking? Or is that the God-given gift?
No, yeah, I mean, there's that, but I mean,
because you're a good talker.
Yeah, it can be fun, but again, when you have something to say, right? It's not always easy to just get in front of the mic. I mean, right? I mean, how many have you done? How many have you done in LA? This is number 7.
Yeah,
this is number 7. Right?
I was looking for guests. It was hard to find, but it's interesting, like looking back now, the universe did a great job. I only had interesting and great people on my podcast. It was really quality. It was not just quantity. And it's also time consuming and energy.
Yes.
So,
have you kept in touch with the Serbian girl?
Yes.
Oh, you guys friends now?
Yeah, we are.
Right?
Yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah.
Nina, amazing. Right. I had Ceca, I know her from Serbia as well. I had Sasha, a German entrepreneur as well, who moved 10 years ago to LA.
Right.
I had yesterday Santiago Arana from the agency. He's on Beverly Hills.
Right.
Oh, no, buying Beverly Hills.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Today I have you. You see, like, quality people. And then, interestingly, you attract what you are.
Right.
So actually, you are a reflection of myself. And that's a huge compliment for myself.
Oh, thank you.
Really, I mean, that's how the universe works.
Right. Have you spoken to Dave about any of this stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we went to the movies on Christmas.
Christmas Day, you guys went to the movies? What'd you see? Oh, Avatar.
No,
What'd you see?
Babylon.
What was it?
Babylon. I
Oh,
think.
Babylon.
Babylon. Yeah.
Long movie.
Long movie, but very interesting. Like when you see the silent movie, how it was shifting to the movies that we know
Of
today,
course.
and the Hollywood stories inside, like a lot of there's so many pieces in this movie that they were so mind blowing to me, because that's how I had the perception of Hollywood here.
Oh, you had a perception of it, and that movie sort of backed up what your kind
Yeah.
of dream or vision was of old Hollywood
Yeah.
or whatnot. Interesting.
But you know it better. How was Hollywood like 20 years ago, and how is it now?
Well, listen, and again, this is, at the risk of acknowledging the obvious. The pandemic really did a number on LA.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it did a number everywhere, but it hit LA and Hollywood in my opinion, particularly hard. Just in terms of, so many businesses closed down and never came back, and I don't know. There's something different. There's something shifted. I would say great time in Hollywood. And again, it's all relative to where you are in your life. Like in the late '90s, early 2000s of Hollywood, I was in my 20s, and it's just fun. So I think it's relative. I think if you asked, in 10 years from now, the people that are in their 20s now will be in their 30s then will say, like, oh my God, what are you talking about? 2020, 2022, 2023 were great years in Hollywood. So I think it's really where you are in your life as to, where you're enjoying it.
Yeah, but I think that back then, I mean, you were on the show Entourage. You were probably chased by all the paparazzis because it was a part of your work.
Right.
And now people they like want to be chased by the paparazzis. It's
No,
something has changed.
it definitely
Yeah.
the influencer game has changed a lot of Hollywood, because and I always there's that type portion of Hollywood that's like, oh, like the influencer thing is beneath them or whatever, but it's hard to. What can you really say about some of these influencers that are literally making millions of dollars? If you're doing anything that you love and where you're making your own hours and you're being creative and you're getting paid like that, anybody that's going to have something to say about that is just a hater. Now, it may not be what you want to do, but I've just never been one to like hate on that. You got some of these people making lots and lots and lots of money.
Definitely.
So what can you really say? But yeah, it's changed. I mean, there was no, just social media, now, if you're in a club or whatever, no matter what you do, there's going to be a phone on you, right? Or the whole thing is on video. That wasn't the case, like in the old days, it was like you had the wind up cameras or the flash went off, and now it's just everything's on tape. So it's just it's a little. I think people are a little more guarded.
Yeah, and I think that you and we appreciate a lot more privacy because we need it,
Right.
and other people like to put them out there.
Yeah.
And,
What's the nightlife like in Switzerland or the social scene? Is it
I mean,
small, but
it's small. People like
it's a
to
small
go out.
world, right? Like, so when you go out, there's that circle and everybody knows each other.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Right.
Even if they pretend not to know each other, but actually they do. They would never admit it that they know each other. It's like, hey, hi, my name is, but actually you know already from Instagram and from all the other people that, like, who's that person? But, now I miss it. I really do.
Right. Yeah, you should go home for a while.
Yeah, I miss the Swiss quality.
The Swiss quality. What is that exactly?
It's just different than LA. When it comes to food, oh my God.
Is the food better in Switzerland than LA? Really?
Kevin, I had diarrhea last week.
Right.
That explains a lot.
Right.
The food is so different here. It's fatty, it's oily, it's full of chemicals.
It's processed.
I'm so
Everything's
sorry.
processed,
Yeah.
right.
And Swiss quality food is just organic. I know where I can get my food. I always feel good. I don't feel bloated. And every time I go out, can I have something, whatever it is? It's just with oils, and I'm like, can I have that without oil, please?
Right. So I was in Medellin, Colombia for the holiday, and I found the same thing in Medellin. Everything felt fresh, right? It was literally farm to table, right? If you were having potatoes, they're different than potatoes here.
You
They just
noticed a
were.
difference?
I did notice a difference.
Okay.
I noticed a difference. Everything just felt fresh.
Yeah.
It's the best way, But yeah, that's interesting.
And interestingly, here, every time I go for coffee, it's always sweetened. I have to mention or I have to highlight it unsweetened, please.
Right.
Because it's a normal thing. So I asked them, why don't you sell a milk that is unsweetened? And they're like, who's going to drink it? Wow, we have a problem. And the food addiction in America, oh my God.
Well, that's what I was going to say. LA is on the healthier side. You move outside of LA or New York, and it's just, it's fast food central and all that. Right?
I have to tell you something that was bothering me the whole 12 weeks now. Seeing people eating this amount of food, it's disgusting.
Right.
I'm losing my appetite sometimes.
Right, but are you talking about actual portions or?
The portions are much bigger than in Europe, be honest.
Right.
If you travel, you see that a Coke is super big. And
Right.
I'm seeing the amount of sugar that someone is just drinking. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
I only
so
do
it's
water.
the portions that are bigger.
The portions are bigger, which also means that your stomach is stretching.
Right.
When you go to Europe, a normal size is too small for you.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and everything is sweetened. Everything is oily and fatty. So when you have a clean vegetable, you don't know how it tastes actually, because it's just a vegetable. Yeah.
How focused are you on your diet and your exercise?
Well, exercise, you can see I'm going 5 times.
Right,
a
that's
week.
what I'm saying. So you go
Yeah.
and you work out and
Yeah,
you
that's
watch
for
what
sure.
you eat. So that's a high priority for you.
Yeah, always. This is my priority. Other people have different priorities. My gym is I plan my workouts, and then everything else is around my. I'm planning around my workouts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because that has priority.
Right.
Even the podcast, I would be like, okay, I have to go to the gym in the evening. When can I record a podcast? It would be prior to my workout.
And is it hard? You don't find it harder to work out at night?
No, I like that because I'm alone.
Right.
Everyone sleeps then. I can think, It's
Right.
good. I'm more into energy things,
Right.
So I like to be there in the gym in a room just by myself, stretching and working out.
Right.
I do intermittent fasting. That also helps me to stay away from snacking.
I do that.
You too?
I do that as well.
Oh, good. So what's your intermittent?
Well, I try to.
You do OMAD, one meal a day. OMAD.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to. Because I don't wake up starving.
Neither do I.
Once in a while, I will. Maybe I don't know. But for the most part, I don't wake up like, oh my God, I have to eat breakfast. Right. So I'll try to hold off till later on in the day. So I'll probably eat from, let's call it 4 to 8.
Okay.
4 p.m. to 8
Oh, yeah.
p.m.
Okay,
8 p.m.
close
being
there.
on the later side. That's generally what.
I'm trying to do 6 or 7.
Intermittent
hours.
fasting is good.
The best. It's reverse aging.
Right.
Have you heard about David Sinclair?
No, what is that?
Oh my God, you should listen to his podcast as well.
Podcast. There you go.
Yeah, but I mean, he's the guest on a lot of podcasts. He's talking about reverse aging, how it helps if you do 1 meal a day or intermittent fasting for your cells and for your health, to actually, feel younger and better.
Yeah.
It does something to you, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And you're not snacking.
once in a while, I'll wake up. I'm like, man, I'm fucking starving. And maybe it has something to do with if I were drinking or something the night before. But generally speaking, I wake up and I'm not. My first thought is not, I'm starving.
If you do intermittent fasting until 8 and you drink alcohol after, you're breaking your fast. You know that.
Yeah. No, I don't. The actual rules of it. So,
But you have your own rules.
Yeah, I have my own rules. I'm talking about food, like particularly like a heavy meal, right? So if you have like I would always say, like you try not to have a big meal when it's dark out.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually
right.
good.
So if you eat when it's still light out, by the time it's dark, and then you go to sleep, and then
What do you usually eat here? Because you said that LA is healthier than every other state.
Well, I love sushi, so sushi's big. And look, the truth of the matter is, especially here, since I've started the company, it's gotten a little more complicated for me, just because I'm just busy, and truthfully, a lot of times I'll have to remind myself, like, dude, I haven't eaten today. Like, fuck, what time is it? Like, it's 3:30, 4 o'clock. I haven't eaten at all, and it's not because I don't know. I just I get so busy. It's almost like I forget to eat. There's people that eat to live, and there's people that live to eat.
Oh yeah, that's well put.
And I don't. I eat to live. I'm not a total foodie.
But do you eat more when you're stressed, or do you eat less?
It's a good question. I don't think there's a connection there. I don't stress eat. If
Okay.
that's the question, but maybe subconsciously,
You eat more?
maybe
And do you
I'll
eat?
start. I'll think about that. I'll think about
It's
that.
actually a
Yeah, it's a good
reflection.
question. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't think if anything, I would guess just based on myself that I probably eat less when I'm stressed.
And do you eat less or more when you're in an emotional dark place?
I would probably think that I would eat more when I'm in a good place.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, when I'm in love, I don't eat at all.
right. You're like, oh, I'm in love. You can't eat. Right, right,
No, my food is love when I'm
right,
in love.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's maybe it's a woman thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I mean,
feel
but
like.
I guess stress can cause you to not eat,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
But there's the opposite. Like people like to eat when they're stressed because like they're just
for sure.
feeding,
Stress
overfeeding.
eaters or depression
Yeah.
eaters,
Yeah.
I'm a big cheat meal guy.
What does that
Do you
mean?
know what a cheat meal is?
Of course, I do a cheat meal, but I don't do a cheat day because that's a
Well,
different
there's a
story.
big difference because a cheat day can set you back, but a
Yeah.
cheat meal.
What
will
is your
be-
cheat meal?
Well, there'll be just like something that you'll go, God, it's just a terrible thing to be eating, right?
Me
And
too.
then
Yeah.
one day I'll wake up, and now I don't have a scheduled cheat meal, but I'll like think, oh, I haven't had a cheat meal in a minute, and then I'll think like, all right, I'm craving X restaurant that I know is terrible to be eating at, whether it's
Like what? Give
But,
me the name of
like
the restaurant.
I'm not a massive red meat person.
Mhm.
Like I only eat hamburgers from one restaurant in LA, which
What
is
restaurant
weird.
is
It's
it?
called Laurel Tavern. It's in Studio
Okay.
City. So, once in a while I'll wake up and go, you know what? I'm craving that hamburger, and it's been a few weeks. And then I'm in the area. If I'm in the area, I'm like, all right, you know what? I think today's the day where I'm gonna stop in there. And I do like red meat, but it comes in waves for me. Like
Okay.
it's not. There's times where I'm like, I just don't want to eat meat. And then there's times where I feel like my body's calling out to me to eat red meat. Like I need steak. I need
Mhm.
something. I need the iron or whatever it is. That,
'Cause you're the
in my blood. Yeah,
Ah.
no, but you feel like
Yeah.
your body like needs something.
Have you tried the Impossible Burger? Is that something you can
Yeah,
live
I like
with?
it. Are you a vegetarian?
I'm vegan.
Oh, you're vegan.
Yeah.
Right.
I had
So-
3 vegan burgers in 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was veg. No, that's not true. I didn't eat red meat at one point for like 13 or 14 years because I got sick when I was a kid.
Your body was naturally like against.
And I was
meat.
young too. I
You
was
see?
like 12.
Why would you change that when your body was like not into that?
Well, this why I mean, it was at a barbecue and I got sick from whatever it was on the grill, and I was so sick. I was like, oh man. And so for 12 years or 13 years, I did not eat meat at all. And then one day I woke up and was like, I don't know, it just was kind of craving it, So
Interesting.
yeah. But it wasn't. It happened, Like
Yeah.
I can't explain why, but I didn't eat it at all, not one time.
Yeah.
And then one day I was at a restaurant. I was like, you know what? I was looking at something that somebody else ordered, and I was like, you know what? I want that. I'm gonna eat it right now.
And since that day,
Yeah.
you're a meat eater.
Yeah, but I go hot and cold, and a lot of times it's where I am, and not to say like I would never have a fast food hamburger, never in a million years, or really fast food.
Are we talking about
that
like a
matter.
chain, like In and Out,
Yeah,
Shake
well,
Shack?
but that's not true. In and Out and Shake Shack. I'm talking about like I would never eat at McDonald's or Burger King or any of
But
those
that's all the
places.
same. Like In and Out, Shake.
No, In and
Why
Out.
not? Come
In
on.
and Out is very different than McDonald's. Mira,
No.
y-
If you have
yes.
like no.
Mira, I'll send you an article. Dave, am I right about this? McDonald's and those like Shake Shack and In and Out make the stuff there. They make the meat there. The other
And
ones do
you
not.
want to tell me that it has a better effect on your body than
I'm telling
McDonald's?
you that Shake Shack or In and Out is light years better meat quality than McDonald's.
But fast food is fast food. It's fried.
It's true.
It's
Yeah,
oily.
I'm not a fast food guy. And then also too, like a lot of times for me, it's instinctual of the restaurant I'm in, right? So
Yeah.
if I'm in a place that I feel is as clean as a restaurant can be,
Mm-hmm.
if I feel, you just get that vibe like, honestly, this is a weird thing, but I might pick up on something like if I go into a bathroom of a restaurant and the bathroom is clean,
Yeah.
Like just like perfect and clean. I'm like, okay, it takes pride. And when I'm in a dirty place, I'm like, I would never eat meat
You
here.
judge the restaurant by the bathroom?
It for sure.
like that.
It for sure says a lot. It for sure says a lot about the restaurant. If your bathrooms are clean and it feels clean, like I just get. By the way, you talk about gut instinct. A lot of times, like my gut instinct will be like, I don't want to eat meat from this restaurant. And then other times my gut will tell me like, you know what? They seems like they run a pretty tight ship over here. I'll try whatever it is.
Are you also like putting your eye on the menus already that are served so you can see how they serve the food?
100%. Especially if it's meat. Like I'll see things that are floating around the restaurant. Now, this said about the vegan part of it, like one of my best friends is like a fanatical lunatic vegan. Okay. And when you eat with him, he does all the worrying. Like because I love vegan food, but it can be more complicated to eat as a vegan. It's just a fact.
I just wanted to ask you, how do you feel about the vegan community?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when I go to my buddy's house and he's preparing a vegan meal, you know that you can literally just take everything on the table and shove it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Because it's vegan. So I like it, but it is complicated. And for people that, maybe aren't as financially, it can be tough to eat vegan because what happens is the alternative can be, all right, I'll have the pasta, right? Yeah. Or, it can lead to just eating crap because it can be hard to order vegan. There's be a limited menu, right? I would think that would be one thing you would like about LA. I mean,
actually, it was easy for me, to be honest.
Strong vegan community here.
Yeah.
Lots of places.
But then
most
healthy
places
vegan
will
and vegan is not the same.
Right.
Huh?
Well, I mean, now you're complicating things even more. It's like
now I'm just going to depth.
It's hard enough to eat vegan, and now you're going to somehow separate healthy vegan from so what?
That's how I grew up. It's almost a decade now.
Right. So what in LA, where would you say the best healthy vegan place that you've eaten?
Creation. I even sent a message. I DM'd Creation, the restaurant, for a podcast, and they were actually agreeing to do it, but no one reached out to me, of course. Thank you again. But still, I love the restaurant because everything is clean.
Right.
I like that. And Whole Foods, like the buffet section, I like to eat raw. And they have the raw section.
Like what is in the raw section? Like what?
Vegetables.
Oh, just raw vegetables.
Yeah, and the thing is, they have the dressings right next to this section, but I cannot have the dressings because I don't like the dressing. I only do apple vinegar, salt, and pepper because it's clean.
Right.
Less calories, and I can enjoy the vegetable. If I put a dressing over my vegetable, then it's not the taste of the vegetable, then it's the taste of the dressing. You see how I think? It's
Have you ever accidentally eaten meat?
My mom.
It happened. It can
my
happen,
mom
right?
did it on last Christmas. I'm like,
You're
Mom,
like
what is
eating
that?
something, and you're like, what is that?
I spit it out. I'm like, Mom, why do you have to play this game now on Christmas? Right. Why don't you choose any other day? I have to be honest, I forgot. I'm like, Mom, you cannot forget that you actually did this soup. I spit it out.
So it was soup with like something in the stock, or was there actually
She was
meat
mixing the meat with the veggies.
Right.
And she thought it's a good idea after so many years to taste a little bit of meat, but I spit it out because I could feel it right away. As a kid, I always wanted to be, I could not have like dinner or lunch and like these cold Serbian plates with animal products,
right,
like cheese and meat, so on. I really felt disgusted as a kid already.
Right. And so you could never... Like if you were cooking up something here on the grill that was meat, you couldn't then cook. It needs to be completely cleaned and wiped. You couldn't cook.
I'm actually not like that because, it's okay. I'm not going to be the extra here and be like, no, because the meat was there. If it's like liquids, a lot of liquids, I would be like, can you please clean it?
Right.
Okay, but otherwise I'm fine if my vegetable is just... on that
there on
it.
Right.
Yeah. But maybe if I would see it, then I'll be like, okay, I just take the raw vegetables. And
now, do you ever think you could possibly make the jump to some kind of fish or sushi or something like that?
I have to be honest, there are some locations in this world where I know where the fish comes, and then I would do a huge exception. But this is, maybe I can count it on one hand in 1 year.
Right.
Because I really want to be conscious about that.
Right.
And I don't want to see the fish then. If you show me the fish before I eat it, I'm gone.
I'm the same way. By the way, I'm the same way with if I order fish, always have to tell the waiter, like, listen, man, don't bring me something that looks like a fish. Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
see an eye or a face or a
Yeah.
tail. I want to be completely in denial,
Yeah.
you know? And sometimes when you go to sushi restaurants and you sit at the sushi bar and they'll have like the fish and obviously they want to keep it fresh. So when
Yeah.
you're looking at it alive, to me, I always play this kind of game with my mind where I'm trying to, in denial about it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or when people specify what kind of meat that it is, it's like, oh, what is that? And they're like, oh, this is cow shoulder. I'm like, whoa, whoa.
Okay, bye.
Whoa. No,
Yeah.
thank you. I probably would have eaten it, but now I'm thinking about a shoulder and a cow or whatever part of the cow. So for me, it's a little bit of a mind game that I have to play with myself. But the minute I start thinking about what it is, it's very easy to turn me off.
But you're conscious about it. Why?
I don't know. I can't explain it. I might go through, a phase where I don't really think much about it. And then at times I'll like overthink it. I don't know.
What about eggs and dairy?
Same thing. Not dairy as much, but eggs. I do like eggs, and I have to play a bit of a mind game to not think too hard about eggs and where they're from.
Are you like 80% vegan?
No. Not at all. But I'm very aware of what I eat, and it has to check certain boxes for me, which is why I tend to be a creature of habit in terms of where I eat a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I'll go to like a lot of the same restaurants because I know what I'm going to get.
That's so interesting.
And I also like to know that people are taking care of my food. Like when we talk about where you met, did you guys meet at Jonah's Kitchen?
No, but I've been there with Tammy.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Jonah's Kitchen.
I had tacos for the first time.
Jonah's
Hard
Kitchen.
shell and soft shell. Never
Jonah's
had
Kitchen,
that before.
they are taking care of your
Yeah.
food in the back.
Ah.
If something falls on the floor, it's not going back in the taco. They are taking that as clean, and they are taking as good care of your food, and they are treating your food as if they're eating it themselves. And that to me is everything.
But is that not what you expect actually?
Yeah, but you'd be
someone?
surprised. I think you'd be surprised at a lot of restaurants where it's like, whatever, things happen and just whatever. The 2-second rule, the meat falls on the ground, you throw it right back on the plate,
my
nobody
God.
saw anything. They would never do that at Jonah. So I love to go to places where I know that people take pride in their food and what they do. And Jonah's is one of those places.
Good to know. Good to know. Shout out to Jonas.
Yeah, shout out Jonah's.
10 years ago when I started to question everything what I'm putting inside my body, I was educating myself on YouTube. There were a lot of American doctors and, like first movers into a vegan direction, you know what I mean?
Right.
And now 10 years later, I'm here in the city, and actually this city created this vegan girl
Right.
in Europe. But being here and seeing how people eat is like totally different than what I've actually learned from YouTube, because YouTube taught me this way to be
Right.
who I am today. It's very interesting
Listen,
how
people are pretty, health conscious in LA. So if you think they're not health conscious in LA, when you go to different parts of the United States, your mind will be blown
like
at
better or worse.
how people just don't give a shit. Like they eat what comes fastest and easiest, and look, here's the thing. And this is aside from, the vegan aspect of it, people are grinding it out, working, blue collar jobs where they're on the train and they're on the move and they got to get home. And sometimes it's the easiest way. It's fast food, right?
It is.
And you're hungry. So it just is also, unfortunately, just part of the kind of fabric of the rush, and people are running their kids and practice and school and getting home for that. It's just a grind. And sometimes it's just easier to grab something quick because
saw that.
time is of the essence,
I went to a Lakers and Clippers game. And when I just noticed what people are putting in their bodies, it was crazy. So my friend, he had like sort of M&Ms,
Right.
So I, of course, took this product. It's a product. It's not food. I flipped it and I could see like 400 something calories in a small bag. I'm
Right.
like, this is almost 1/3 of an amount what a woman should eat during a day. And you're just snacking it.
Right.
This is really crazy. It's mind-blowing if you start counting calories,
Well, and the other thing is that it's kind of misleading because it's calories per serving, right? So
Yeah.
if you look at a big bag of M&Ms and it'll say however many calories per serving, but what is a serving? 10 M&Ms? That might be a serving.
Yeah.
Very rarely will you eat 10 M&Ms. If you're going to eat M&Ms, you can grab a handful of them and you're going to eat them. That
Yeah.
might be 3 servings. that you're
Exactly.
eating, you know,
Do you count calories? Because I think that
No.
this is now the chance to raise awareness in our people's like who are listening right now to the podcast.
You know what they started doing, and I don't know if it's a law, but and this is over the last couple of years. Like on menus, they'll have the calorie.
Yeah, they do that in Soul Green.
Right,
You know
but
Soul Green?
it's interesting because there it is, right? So like you're reading the menu and you're ordering. You're like, oh my god, am I really gonna order this? So
Yeah.
I think it's good that they do that because it's like eat what you want, but here's like a last second reminder of what you're
Starbucks
eating.
has it.
Really?
Starbucks. Last time I was in Starbucks, I'm like, okay, how much has a cappuccino? 140. Okay, that is something. Let's go.
Do you
for-
actually add up calories, or do you just have like a rough estimate? Like,
No, I have an app, but I do that on purpose because I'm going to the gym 5 times a week.
Right.
And I just want to keep an eye and be informed what I put in my body. It's not
Right.
like I'm crazy about calories.
Right.
But now I know a cappuccino has 150, 160 with oat milk. It depends.
Right.
So then I know, then I should eat less pasta
Right.
and more veggies, just like moderation.
Right.
That's important.
Makes sense.
Moderation, knowledge, and conscious eating.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what, like with the Apple Watch, right? So, which is a great thing. It's you put it on and it basically tracks what you do during the day. It'll give you an idea to go like, wow, I didn't really. Sometimes you're like, oh wow, I was up and around a lot today, right?
I
And
walk in
yeah, I
West
was
Hollywood.
walking. Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
then sometimes you're like, wow. I guess I really kind of just sat at my desk and stared at the wall because
Yeah.
I didn't get the steps. And so I see what you're saying. It's good to have kind of an awareness.
Just
it's not
keep
like
an eye on it, yeah.
right to keep an eye on it. Right.
But I walk in West Hollywood like every single day, like 10 kilometers, I guess. It's like 8 miles. So I can easily eat 400, 500
Well, and then you just
calories
burn that
more.
off.
Yeah,
Right,
because
right,
I'm
right.
burning it.
Right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But you see, I'm very informed.
Right. Yeah. No, it's good.
I
it's
love
smart.
myself. I
And
love
it
my
doesn't.
body.
And it doesn't. And it's also good to know how to do it. Right. Because whatever. Like, all right, you guys don't have Thanksgiving in Switzerland, obviously.
No, but I'm going to start doing this.
But I mean, like, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, whatever. It's the holiday. It's Christmas. Whatever. We're gonna eat like animals, right? And then the next week how to dial it back and kind of set your body back straight, right? Most people,
Mm-hmm.
have a hard time. I mean, it's all there. The information is there, but you have to learn it. And you have to learn what works for your body.
Yeah.
So,
How do you teach your children to eat? Like, do they have a special diet?
I have a daughter, and she you try to give her as healthy. She likes fruit, which is good.
Nice.
Right, where it's not, you're not like here, do this. So she likes fruit, but kids are finicky. They like taste.
So refined sugar is always on the menu.
No, but you know what? Well, sometimes you go, and sometimes you just gotta get calories in the kid. They have these packets, right? That have like it's kind of I don't know. It's like having like a smoothie. That will have all the nutrients and vegetables and that kind of stuff. And she likes fruit. And then, we're always trying to feed her as best as possible. But I think it's in a couple years where you have to try to kind of create the habits
Yeah.
of what you eat,
How old is she now?
19 months.
19 months.
Right.
okay.
So she's still,
But still, you have an idea how you want to raise your child,
of course.
right?
I mean, listen,
Yeah.
I wanted for sure raise her differently than I was raised. Because I was raised in that sort of grind,
Mm-hmm.
My mom was a waitress. My dad was a truck driver. Everybody was running around, school.
So
this and-
American.
yeah, right.
Wow.
So it was that thing. It was like, hey, I'm hungry and we don't have time to go to have a sit down dinner. And so I would never, my daughter would never eat the fast food that I ate. Put it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
What would you like your daughter to know? Like for life advice for your daughter. What would it be?
I mean, I that's the other too. I can't, she's at a great age right now, but like when I can get her to an age where she can understand oh man, God, I'm going to be talking her ear off. I am going to be talking her ear off. Because there's a lot of things.
Can you please share that with us?
Well, I mean, I think it's all versions of sort of even what you said about your gut instinct and, your friends and who you surround yourself with and, consequence to actions. For every action, there's a reaction, you spend a lifetime building something and you could destroy it in a second,
Wow, good point.
Yeah. And then, it'll be interesting. She's young enough to where, I don't know, I feel like something's gotta even itself out with the social media. It just has to. Something is gonna happen to where it's gonna, I don't know, I think level off in some capacity, because that would be a big pitfall. I mean, you're talking about YouTube and going down the YouTube rabbit hole. Can you imagine? I mean, let's put it this way. So my daughter's 19 months old. She'll never put gas in a car.
True.
She will never pull up to a gas station and put gas in a car, ever. It'll be like, what? That was weird that you did that. Think about what will, by the time she's 21, think about where we're going to be from a technological standpoint. Somebody told me, and I'm like, oh man, that's a tough pill for me to swallow. Somebody told me that my grandkids, and not mine, but just in general, that generation could potentially date artificial intelligence.
Oh my God. No, please.
Could you imagine that?
No.
I mean, but that's how far, that's where the technology jump is,
Maybe
there's
we're the
a
last good generation living on planet Earth.
there's a good chance that my daughter vacations on the moon. I mean,
Out of space.
whatever. By the time she's, when she's in her 30s, it'll be 2050. We'll be on the moon. When she's 30, she won't even be able to wrap her head around, the stuff that we deal with today. It's crazy. So it's gonna be wild to watch. We'll see.
Now you're really giving me these thoughts.
It
but
is.
I don't want to think about that.
I know, but it happens. It happens so quick. I mean, if you think about it,
The world is changing. It's
yeah. I mean,
scary.
even think about, I was looking at a clip somebody sent me on TikTok, and it was I want to say it was, I don't know, it was a morning talk show, and they were like, so now you remember the iPod? Pretty soon you're gonna be able to make phone calls from your iPod, and it was like, what? And it's like now we're part cyborg. This is attached to us. It does everything. We
is.
get our directions. We communicate. We do everything. It's short of it being stable to our heads. We lived through the smartphones. That wasn't the case 15 years ago. So where are we going to be in 20 years?
But this smartphone is actually really a distraction also for your
course,
energy.
of course.
For your energy field that you have with yourself. So
Right.
is it always next to you?
I'm not like a super lunatic. I do have my phone, but I could also not have my phone with me. But I do need it in the area. But also, I have a daughter. I have a business. For me, it's more, you got to be able to be reachable for the most part. Especially during the week. Monday through whatever it is. There are some times when, when I was in Colombia with my family for the holiday, and I'm like, okay, everybody's here.
Yeah.
But I could leave my phone in the bedroom, whatever. There's anybody that needs to get a hold of me is right here, So I'm far from perfect with it, but I would say I'm more on the middle side of the scale. Like Dave's obsessed,
Yeah.
He lives on it.
I know people there that
That's
definitely
Dave.
do it.
Dave's
Is he?
that way. Yeah,
Kevin?
yeah,
But he's never on the phone when he's with me.
Well, I mean,
You see, he gives me his undivided
Yeah,
attention.
he does not give me his undivided attention. He's staring at one of this, and again, it's I'm just using Dave as an example. Dave is no better or worse when you're in a certain category where people just sort of live on it,
I know. Oh my God. We talked about everything, but
Yeah,
I
we
have
covered a
one.
lot of ground.
Yeah, I have one more question. What is the worst advice someone gave to you? Or how do you say it? What is the worst advice someone has given to you?
What's the worst advice somebody's given to me?
Yeah. What is it?
I've gotten some pretty bad advice over the years. I've gotten some good advice. I don't know that it's bad advice. I mean, some people have been wrong, about certain things. Like I said, when I moved out to Los Angeles from New York when I was 18 years old, without really a backup plan, and
Or were you pursuing an actress career?
yeah. I mean, I had been acting already, but I really, in hindsight, probably it wasn't really bad advice. It felt like bad advice at the time But as you get a little bit older, you go, maybe that wasn't such bad advice. To me, it was bad advice because it felt
What
like you
was
were
it?
questioning my ability to succeed,
Yeah.
you know? So I was like, what is that's ridiculous. But then you looking back, you're like, well, it wasn't terrible advice, right? I mean, I think it's all relative to when the advice comes.
But what was the advice?
Just to have a backup plan. Like
At the
yeah,
backup plan.
yeah. Like, you know, and to me, I took that as like, you're saying I need a backup plan because you don't
need a
think I'm
plan
going to
B
make
because-
it.
yeah.
You don't think I'm going to make it. You think I need a plan B. You know, so what I thought was terrible advice, as you get a little bit older, you're like, it wasn't terrible advice. It was caring advice from somebody that just was like looking out for you.
But
know?
did people believe in you back then?
Yeah, of course. But believing in somebody and also caring about them,
Yeah.
you want them to, you know.
But I mean, you are a Hollywood actor, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but I'm
Do you still
saying,
acting now?
yeah, I mean, as here and there. I mean, it's not. I gotta get this place off the ground and turn this into a big company, and then I can. You know, that's the
like
other
that.
good thing about
Yeah.
this business is that you know there's no rules, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could go act, I could, you know, whatever it is. So I just take it as it comes.
It is. But back then, did you knew for yourself that you're gonna really make it here in Hollywood?
I strongly believed that I would. Yeah,
What did you do when you had doubts?
that's the thing. I didn't have any doubts.
That was your gut feeling telling you that you are.
I
made
just
for
felt
this.
like it was going to happen, but in
Yeah.
reality, there was a lot of luck involved. So maybe
Oh, do you believe in luck?
I believe in creating your own luck and being prepared for when luck comes. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So I do think there was a little luck involved, but from my standpoint, I was like overly confident that it would work out. So I don't know if there's something to that, but yeah.
It's like you were ready for every opportunity, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Mentally,
yeah,
physically.
you have to be ready. You have to be ready for, you know, your not your big break, but like, you know, when the opportunity knocks, you got to be prepared for
Yeah.
it, right?
But there were probably also times where you were turned down on
Turned
auditions
down.
and so on.
It's 99% turned down rate.
So what was the biggest breakthrough in your career?
Just a couple, you know, Entourage was big, The Notebook was big. I've done a few movies, you know, a bunch of movies, but acting is majority.
Turning down.
Yeah, majority of the time it's rejection, and once you get used to the rejection, it bothers you less.
But do actors support each other in this industry?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Were you disappointed a lot?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to be surrounded by very supportive people, but I see other people that don't have quite the same support system that I have. So,
What would be an advice for an actor, upcoming actor here in Hollywood?
upcoming actor here in Hollywood, I would say go out and make your own stuff. And not from an influencer standpoint, but if you're a writer or a director or an actor, go out, make your own movie. Especially now with the iPhones and there's no excuses. You know,
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's
like a short movie, right?
Whatever it is. But like, if you were going to ask me what would give you the biggest rate, percentage rate for success, it would be going out and taking charge of it and doing your own thing, as opposed to like, oh, I got a new agent, my headshots, which you do anyway. But on the side, there's always enough time to be working on your own thing. And I think that gives you the best chance for success.
But why would European people come to Hollywood with a strong accent and then they're not going to be in a movie because they have an accent?
Well, you got
So
to
what's the
work on that, right?
Yeah, so we have to get rid of the...
You got to work on your accent. I mean, listen, why do you think all the British actors get all the the American jobs? They've mastered the accent. They're very well trained in acting, and like you ever sometimes like I'll watch like a TV show and then you see the person on the interview and you're like, what the fuck, that they're super British, right? And then you're watching them and it seems like it's like anything else. Like, yeah, you gotta know the language and you gotta work on your accent, and that should be something that you work on.
I really like the American accent so much more than the British accent.
British accent's fun though. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I do a terrible British accent. I'm not going to attempt it.
Can you?
No, I'm not doing it.
Oh, well, we talked about everything.
Yes, we did, and
We covered all the topics.
We look forward to you coming back, and you come back, you got a home here with us.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope that I can also give you like the same feeling once you're in Switzerland. Like maybe I can build a podcast studio for you.
Okay.
You never know. Maybe you can
never
have
know.
another one in this world.
Action Park Media Switzerland.
Oh
The
my God, I
Switzerland
like
office.
that.
I
The
like it.
Swiss quality.